So counting out the fact that balancing standardized testing and schoolwork is really tiring, I've learned a couple of things about myself through my junior year in high school. First, the level of my performance has been affected by my confidence. And second, it's important to find people who believe in you. So the first time these lessons showed up was in my sports. And before I go into my personal experience with sports in high school, I can tell you that I've always been obsessed with sports ever since I was really little. I was always that kid who would be, air dribbling a basketball or simulating the 3-2-1 countdown on a basketball hoop. I would be that kid that you can see juking people in the crowded streets of New York City with the occasional spin move that would always induce kids these days or two. You can find out the real number from my mom, but I think it was at about 7 broken vases when I had to move my many one-man slam dunk contests on my little Taiki suit to the basement. I think the thing that I liked most about sports, though, when I was little, was always the baseball catches that I had with my dad. And we could have them anywhere. On the beach, on the sideline of my sister's soccer games, in the courtyard of our old building where someone called our catch an accident waiting to happen. But regardless, the point is that I always set the bar pretty high for myself with athletics. In high school, however, as I came into the school as a small and frail freshman, yes, smaller than I am now, and frailer than I am now, I was immediately overwhelmed by how many kids there were that were better than me. Instead of being, that kid that was automatically put at shortstop or the best hitter on the team, I was on JV, and I felt like I didn't really matter to the team at all. Not only that, though, but every time that I had the opportunity to show the coaches what I could do, I would get nervous, and I would, throw the ball away, or I would, not make a good hit, or something like that. So that year, it felt like the first time that I wasn't really necessary to contribute to the team, which was not a great feeling or a great confidence booster. So sophomore year, when I got called up to varsity to play third base and bat ninth, you could say that I was pretty nervous. The team was very, very good, and from the start of the season, there seemed little room for error. So I was very anxious and nervous every time I touched the ball. I wasn't really helping the team out, and at some points during the season, you can even ask my coaches. I would say something like, I forgot how to throw, or I forgot how to hit. I was just so nervous and so unsure of my abilities. When I started to realize at the end of the season, at the end of sophomore year, after I got benched, which was a little too late, but what I started to realize was the fact that I was nervous and unsure actually made me play worse and made me feel isolated on the team. So going into my junior year, I can admit that I had some doubts about even playing baseball, as I thought that the stress that it had caused me the previous year was not really worth the time commitment. But my parents convinced me to play, so obviously I ended up playing. But this year was different. I'd grown into a bigger body and started to get some attention from the coaches. And in one of the first practices, my coach came up to me and said, he talks like this, he said, "Charlie, you're a very talented player, but with no confidence. We need that talented player. You need to stop thinking and just have fun with it, Papa." He always says Papa after everything. So, but it felt good to have someone, my coach in particular, believe in me. When you have someone believe in you, you start believing in yourself. Essentially, I no longer felt isolated or on an island on the baseball field this year actually, but rather I felt comfortable knowing that someone had my back and believed in me. So my coach said the goal for me this year was to build up my confidence. So that's just what I did. Instead of doubting myself, I would just focus on a target and imagine hitting it. Instead of thinking about letting the team down, if I failed, I started to think about how baseball is a game and it's supposed to be fun, and that my teammates are here for me. I stopped competing with myself, as I had done previously, and felt isolated, and I started to truly compete and play the game of baseball with my team and have fun. This year, because of that newfound confidence and support from my coach and the other players on my team, I started playing well. I would make diving plays from second base, plays that I never would have expected to make. And yeah, of course there were some mistakes, but I accepted that mistakes happen and just reminded myself every time I made a mistake that there were people that believed in me and that I believed in myself to make that next play. So I think my season culminated this year in the quarterfinals of the playoffs. On the first pitch of the game, I made a good play, and at that moment, I don't even need to go into the specifics of what the play was, but at that moment I no longer felt like a liability for the team, but as a part of the team having fun and competing. I recognize, though, that the only reason I can do that is because, I believed in myself, and I knew that my coach and my team believed in me as well. And that feeling, that rush of contributing and being part of the team, is the reason why sports are fun in the first place, and the reason why I played sports in the first place. So finding someone who believes in you and having confidence affect your performance is not exclusive to only sports, though. In fact, the same idea is what made me a decent math student in high school. In middle school, I was decent at math, but I absolutely dreaded it. I dreaded going to class, as people normally do. But during my freshman year in geometry, however, after a test, I was fervently discussing a problem with one of my friends in the hallway. It was a bonus problem on the test about some clock. And my teacher for that year overheard me and said, "Hey Charlie, why don't you come to my office later and discuss it further with me?" So that day, during our meeting, she told me how she thought that there was a very little math nerd inside of me that she wanted to let out. And she told me that I was smart and that I should not dread math, but rather enjoy it. And the same effect happened. She believed in me, so I started to believe in myself. I started to treat everything math-related into a puzzle that was fun, and it really worked for me. So the moral of this isn't that I'm good at math or I'm good at sports and that I'm happy for myself for becoming better and gaining confidence and finding someone, but it's rather a message that can be spread to everyone. I found someone who believed in me, in baseball with my coach and in math with my teacher, and I started to believe in myself, in those areas, which led to me having more self-confidence and ultimately leading to more success in those areas. So if you don't believe in yourself, you're never going to maximize your potential. But if you find someone who believes in you, and you start to believe in yourself and have self-confidence, then you will definitely have a higher chance to succeed. Thank you.